You are watching Area DMG.
Welcome back to Area DMG. I'm your host, Phil Wesley, the Mile High Mouth, and today we're going to take a look at the Nintendo Handheld family of game cards. I had to do like a dramatic pause there for a moment. Game cards and game packs. I know, we're going to look at cartridges for Nintendo handhelds of the past and all the way up to today, and a little bit about each of them. Now, Nintendo calls them game packs because cartridges actually had a negative connotation in the 80s. Kind of like it had kind of a negative connotation in the early 2000s, and that's why with the GameCube they went to discs. It's nice to have them back on the superior cartridge race. Actually, what happened was cartridges kind of conjured up in the minds of consumers something similar to Atari or ColecoVision or whatnot. And Nintendo wanted to keep away from that, so you're supposed to refer to Nintendo NES games as Nintendo Entertainment System game packs. Not supposed to call them cartridges. They insisted that people call them game packs. Until you get to the Nintendo DS, where they start calling them cards. Although, there were game cards before that, and we'll get into this. Now, this starts back at the beginning with the original Game Boy. This is a Game Boy cartridge. Sorry, a Game Boy game pack. It's technically a cartridge, but like I said, we're supposed to call them game packs. This is Faceball. You can see all sides of these. Here's the contacts. Let's see if we can make it zoom in on those just a bit. Yep. This would work in an original Game Boy. And the Super Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Light. And then a little bit later on when they introduced the Game Boy Color. Oh wait, before they introduced the Game Boy Color, they introduced the first Nintendo game cards. Now, I know a lot of people think that game cards first started out with the DS, but they originally started with the Virtual Boy. It was Nintendo's first little quasi-portable. It's funny because it came with a little thing to protect your card, and you can take this and stick it on top of the Virtual Boy's device. Here are the pins for that. It's a little closer, I think, to a compact flash type of device because of multiple little pins. I think that's a terrible design, although these games are not terrible, especially Virtual Boy Wario Land. Oh, to note, this is the first Nintendo game card for a portable where you load it label side into the device. The label would be facing up instead of facing down because there's a little groove right here on the back of the card which you had to use to pull out. So you would put the thing in like this. The label was entirely hidden into the device. Now we're going to put it right there because the Virtual Boy is its own, I guess you could say, its own line. Now, the Game Boy ruled the roost for a while, up until about 1997, 98? Yeah, about 1998 or so. 1999, they started bringing out Game Boy Color. Now, the Game Boy Color had two variations of game packs. We had the dual compatible ones, which are Game Boy and Game Boy Color, and then Game Boy Color only game packs. These will work on the Game Boy and the Game Boy Pocket, the Game Boy Light and the Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, etc., etc. And then these would only work on the Game Boy Color and up. Since pretty much what you had here was Game Boy on up to except that these won't work in the Game Boy Micro or the Nintendo DS, but we'll get to those in a little bit. Okay, for a little while we had the Game Boy Color only stuff, and then Nintendo kind of sprung the Game Boy Advance on everybody. This was their 32-bit system, Project Atlantis or whatnot, and these did not work on any of the previous units, but the previous units, like the Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Color only games, would work on the Game Boy Advance. Oh, one thing we forgot to show people. Let's go ahead and do this. Here's a picture of the contacts. There you go. That's about that point right there. And then we have the Game Boy Advance, of course. This is Dr. Mario Puzzle League. And you can kind of tell the... Oh, one thing to note. If you shine a light in there, you'd note that you can actually read a little bit of what it says in there, which it says Nintendo inside the system. Now, this is kind of the end of the road for the Game Boy Advance line, but before we get into that, around the Game Boy Advance time, these came out. This is a Pokemon Mini game card. This one right here is Pokemon Mini Pokemon Party. Now, what's funny about this is that this is a handheld device from Game Freak and Pokemon Company and Nintendo. There's only about a handful of games for this. There's actually less games for the Pokemon Mini. I think there's pretty much less games for Pokemon Mini than there are for the Virtual Boy. But the Pokemon Mini lives on in Poke Park for the GameCube, where there's a fully functional one hidden inside the game that you can mess around with. So you can try a bunch of these games. That device is kind of interesting in that it's got like a built-in rumble. It's got some interesting stuff. Here's the back of the game card. Ta-da! Look at that. Fancy, fancy board on that one. And there's the... you can kind of see the contacts. But yeah, that's its own little generation between there. And that goes for this. This is a Pokemon Mini, and we will talk more about this at some other time. Or rather, in Meet the Nintendo Handheld Family version 2.0. So yeah, look forward to that. Look at that. This is Rumble, a pedometer, and it's an interesting device. Well, after the Game Boy Advance, Nintendo kind of went with what they call a third pillar, which would be the Nintendo DS. They launched it as a third pillar because, they launched the Game Boy Micro at the same time, and they still wanted to sell the Game Boy Micro because they weren't sure if people would adopt the Nintendo DS. Well, people did eventually flock to the Nintendo DS. People forget that, unlike the Game Boy Color, and the Game Boy Advance, which were pretty much instant successes, the Nintendo DS had a really rough first year. In fact, the reason they kept the Game Boy Micro around and kept making a few Game Boy Advance games and saying the whole third-party thing was because they were pretty sure the Nintendo DS would fail. It almost did. In fact, the DS Lite, Brain Age, and Nintendogs are what really saved the Nintendo DS. We wouldn't have the Nintendo 3DS if it weren't for the Nintendo DS Lite and Nintendogs and Brain Age. Because the Nintendo DS was overpriced, didn't have a lot of games, and was just generally considered to be an albatross to Nintendo, until it just took off with the Brain Age series. The Nintendo DS was followed up by the Nintendo DSi, of which there are two different kinds of game cards. These are the second ones they call game cards. You'll note that the product code, NTR, for the one on the far left, that would be a Nintendo DS game, and a TWL, and a gray case for the Nintendo DSi compatible games, where they're enhanced for it, and then a white game card for Nintendo DSi only games. Now, this is its own thing, so we'll just kind of give it its own little category. All the way down here. You'll note we're giving each of these little product lines their own section. Yeah, all three of these existed at the same time for the most part. The Game Boy, the Pokemon Mini was still being sold at the time that the Game Boy Advance was kind of in its heyday, and I think stores still carried them around the time when the Nintendo DS launched. Now, the successor to the Nintendo DS was of course the DSi, but then after that we had the Nintendo 3DS. And we have three different examples of Nintendo 3DS cards here. The one on the far left is a Nintendo 3DS card. The one in the middle, Hyrule Warriors Legends, is a Nintendo New 3DS Enhanced title. And the one at the end is a new Nintendo 3DS only title. Now, the new Nintendo 3DS is interesting in that it's a upgrade to the system, similar to the way that, let's go ahead and move these around a bit. Let that focus. We're working on this, making sure everything focuses correctly. There would be like a little bit of a gear noise if we were focusing, but we can let it do this on its own. There we go. Super Mario 3D World and so forth. Yeah, the new Nintendo 3DS is the system with the it's their dedicated handheld that's the most powerful until the Nintendo Switch. Now, Nintendo Switch cards are technically kind of the smallest ones. Pokemon Mini cards are about the same size, and here they are compared to new Nintendo 3DS game cards. But the Nintendo Switch is Nintendo's own hybrid system. It can be played on the TV, similar to like the PSP 2000, PSP 3000, but it's kind of, if you're playing it on a TV, it has different specs than if you're playing it in portable or tabletop mode, which it's a weird little hybrid, and so far I'm really liking it. But yeah, this is the Nintendo Switch. Here's this card, and oh, let me go ahead and show you the backs of these. I forgot to show you all the contacts. There we go. We have some videos where we open these types of cards up. Here are the backing of these. Nintendo DS, Nintendo DSi, compatible, and Nintendo DSi only. Nintendo New 3DS, New 3DS Enhanced, and New 3DS only. Oh, one thing to note about these is that starting with DSi Enhanced games, Nintendo handheld systems started becoming region locked, which meant that if you bought a game in Japan and it started with TWL or higher, CTR or KTR, it would not work on an American Nintendo 3DS because they started attaching regions to it, which, that was kind of gross. I mean, Nintendo had always kind of region locked their consoles. I mean, the NES and the Famicom, completely different types of cartridges. They had a physical lockout on the Super Nintendo, Super Famicom, and the N64, and that was one thing I hated about consoles. GameCube, Wii U, all region locked, kind of terrible. But with the Nintendo Switch, they took the best of the portable stuff where it's like not region locked, and it added the portability and power of the later systems. But yeah, this is how we got from here to here. And there you go. That, my friends, is the Nintendo Handheld family of game packs and cards. So, yeah, this is just more or less just a little look at some of the information and some of the stuff that will be in a later, larger video. But yeah, what do you think about these? Do you own all these systems? Do you own a Game Boy, Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Virtual Boy, Pokemon Mini, all those types of things? Which one was your first handheld Nintendo console? Do you own the Switch yet? Let me know in the comments below. Oh, just in case people are wondering, the Pokemon Mini actually does take game cards. Game packs. And it's a bit different than, say, like a Pokemon Pocket Pikachu 2, or the Pokewalker, where these are kind of a closed system. This is fairly open. It's got your BA, there's your power buttons. Oh, this is what happened. This is the screen on it, by the way. It's trying to tell me that there's no game card in there. Oh, and it also has wireless communication. There's a lot in this. And we'll get into that at some point. It takes one AAA battery too. It's just a weird little handheld. But yeah, there you go. That's all of them. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite ones are. Have you seen the Pokemon Mini or DSi only cards before? Let me know in the comments below. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. Hit that share button if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And then if you subscribe, make sure you hit that little notification bell, so that you are told whenever we have brand new videos. And until the next video comes out, you are now caught up. One more thing we forgot to do. We forgot to show you guys the backing of a Nintendo game card for the Switch. Here's the front, and here's the back. There's a lot of data being pushed through this all at once. See? And there you go.